Sunshine, thank you for that. So, right now, families across America are sitting at their kitchen table doing their taxes. And this year, many of them are seeing something that they haven't seen in a while. Bigger refunds and more money coming back to them. Thanks to the working families tax cuts, Americans are already seeing results. Early numbers show tax refunds are up 15% higher this season than last. That's real relief for real hardworking families. And let's be honest, after the years of Biden's disastrous economy, families actually need a little relief. Prices went up. Spending power went down. Under Biden's policies, too many Americans were forced to stretch every dollar just to get by. And House Republicans said enough is enough. We passed the working families tax cuts to do something really, really simple. And that is let Americans keep more of their money. And we did it for everyday Americans. So if you're a newborn, you're seeing a new Trump tax account worth $1,000 that has the chance to grow into $250,000 by retirement. If you're graduating high school, you can now use the Pell Grants for trade schools and community college, not just a 4-year degree. And if you're raising a family, we increased the child tax care credit $2,200 to help parents pay for groceries, childcare, and everything else that comes with raising kids. If you're working, we eliminated taxes on tips and overtime. If you're running a small business, we locked in a 20% deduction so job creators can invest, grow, and create good paying jobs. And if you're retired, you'll be getting a $6,000 bonus deduction. This is quite literally a tax cut for the whole family. But here's the part that shouldn't be lost on anyone. Every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes. Please print that. Please talk about that. Every single Democrat didn't want you to keep that money. Every single Democrat thought the government was a better steward of your money than you are. And I'm going to say it again till we're blue in the face. Every single Democrat wanted to raise your taxes, and they voted for that. The contrast could not be more clear. Republicans believe your paycheck belongs to you, not the federal government. And this tax season proves that that's actually working. Families are seeing bigger refunds, more take-home pay, and real relief. That's what the Working Families Tax Cuts is all about. Lowering taxes, more opportunity, and an economy that works for the American people again. It was a success, and we need to celebrate those successes. I don't know any American that wants to give more money to the government, not less. So again, I'm just going to remind you and compare and contrast. Republicans want you to keep more of your money. Democrats want to raise your taxes because they believe the federal government is a better steward of your money than you are. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our Ways and Means Chair, Jason Smith, who was very instrumental in providing this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Chairwoman McLean. Just over 3 years ago, we started the process to pass the Working Families Tax Cuts. It all started with our very first committee hearing that we didn't hold in Washington, D.C. We held it in Petersburg, West Virginia, in a lumber yard, so we could hear directly from working moms, from small business owners, from farmers, from coal miners of the issues that they're facing in today's economy. It was called the State of America's Economy Appalachia. We then went on to Yukon, Oklahoma, to a barn. We heard from farmers and ranchers, oil and gas producers. We then went to Peachtree City, Georgia, to a factory and heard from factory workers, small business owners. And all of the information that came from those field hearings is what crafted the Working Families Tax Cuts. And the Working Families Tax Cut is the largest tax cut in U.S. history. It delivered on the president's priorities of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, tax relief for just about every single American. This bill was focused on the working class family members and not the billionaires. How many billionaires do you know are paid by tips? How many billionaires do you know work overtime? Just 2 weeks ago, I was in my congressional district, and I had a young lady who came up to me. She had just filed her taxes, and her refund was over $10,000. She was a waitress who worked overtime, who had a couple kids. Everything in this bill benefited her. And in our congressional district, an average family of four, the income is just over $40,000 a year. That $10,000 provides her rent for more than a year. This is real to real Americans, and for anyone to say anything less is not speaking the truth. If you're a family of four and you make $73,000 or less, you will pay zero in federal taxes. That is about affordability. But yet every single Democrat voted against extending the child tax credit. Every single Democrat voted against no tax on tips, and every single Democrat voted against no tax on overtime. We are the party of the working class. They're the party of elites and billionaires. I'm pleased to turn it over to Mr. Mario Diaz-Balart.
Thank you, Chairman. First and foremost, welcome to the 26th District. I know that you all rather be in D.C. right now, but look, I will be brief. Chairwoman McClain mentioned about, and both of them that just spoke, talked about how the Democrats have been very explicit. They voted against cutting the taxes of the American people, but you don't have to even look at that. When in the President's State of the Union, when he actually said they want to raise your taxes to the Democrats, they stood up and they applauded. That's what they want to do. They want to raise your taxes. And this is the largest tax cut in the history of our country to hardworking Americans. And it's very simple what that means. It's more money in your pocket and less money taken away to spend for the federal bureaucracy to spend. And this is real. This is not theoretic stuff. This is actually impacting families. It's the equivalent of, in my district, the one that I'm privileged to represent, this tax cut is the equivalent of many months of groceries that you're going to be able to pay for with this tax cut, just because we're taking less of your money, spending less by the bureaucracy in D.C., because we trust the American people. And make no mistake, not only did every single Democrat vote against lowering your taxes, they're on record. Don't take my word for it. Look at the State of the Union. When the President said the Democrats want to raise your taxes, they all got up and they applauded. They want to raise your taxes. Very simply, this is your money. We want to make sure that you can keep more of your money. That's what we did. It's not a promise. We delivered. We're going to continue to deliver. And as I mentioned, this is not theory. This is real. Let me now introduce Maria Negron Gonzalez. We call her affectionately Millie. She lives in Hialeah, in the district that I have the privilege to represent. To explain to you, this is not theory. This is real life. This is having a real impact on the economy writ large, but on individual people, hardworking Americans and families in places that I represent. Millie, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Millie from Hialeah. I'm from Hialeah, Florida. I have lots of roles in my life, but my favorite and most important is being Juan Victor's mom. Like lots of parents, my number one priority is making sure that my child has every opportunity to succeed. But as any parent knows, the cost of raising kids isn't cheap, even if it's just one. Whether it's groceries, clothes, Pokemon, or getting them the extra help they need in school. That's why the expanded Republican tax cut bill is making a real difference in families like mine. By increasing the child tax credit to $2,200 and adjusting it for inflation, it means the relief actually keeps up with the real world and with the real costs facing parents like me every day. For my family, the extra money is going towards SAT tutoring. My son wanted Pokemon, I said, no, you're gonna study. It's giving him the extra support he needs to feel confident and be able to succeed on his upcoming SATs. As a parent, there's nothing more important than knowing you're able to invest in your child's future. And this tax relief is helping families like mine to do exactly that. I'm so grateful that Republicans fought to make life a little more affordable for parents like me and to help our kids reach their full potential. Thank you, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, Congresswoman McClain, and everyone here for passing this tax legislation, which gives Americans like me real economic relief. Thank you.
Hello. Good afternoon. I'm Congressman Mike Bost. I represent the Illinois 12th District. But before becoming a congressman, I was in small business, and it wasn't something I just talked about. It's my life. It was my life. I got started in life growing up in a family trucking company where I started being involved in washing trucks for my family business. My dad didn't really understand child labor laws, so we started about 9 years old, washing and working and cleaning, and the whole family had to be involved. And as I went off the Marine Corps, but then I came back home and I ran that and managed that trucking business for 10 years. My brother still owns it, along with my cousin. Now, many years later, my wife and I, Tracy, we opened a hair salon in our hometown. We've had that hair salon for 40 years until we turned it over to our daughters. I just need to let you all know I'm not a cosmetologist. I don't do hair. I did a lot of books, folded a lot of towels. But we understand because of that, both her and I, what it takes to make payroll every week and what it means to tighten your belt so your employees are cared for and your customers are served. You come to recognize firsthand how policies coming out of Washington can help you grow and make it harder when you open your doors. And that's why I'm proud to stand here today to talk about supporting the Working Families Tax Cuts Act. The law delivers big, beautiful relief to job creators across America. It takes the small business tax deduction permanent, makes it permanent, and so businesses can keep more of what they earn and have the certainty they need to plan for the future. The law also makes it easier for small business to deduct the cost of new equipment, technology, or other tools right away, instead of spreading that deduction out over years. For small businesses, that kind of certainty matters. It makes owners make a decision about expanding operations, purchasing equipment, hiring new workers, and do it with confidence. And because we eliminated the federal tax on tips, overtime pay, it also means the worker can keep more of the money that they earn. It encourages them to have that job. Small businesses are the backbone of our communities, like the ones I represent in Southern Illinois and across the country. It is because of small business. When small business succeed, they create jobs. They strengthen the local economy and help hard-working families get ahead. Now, I'm proud to work with President Trump, Republicans here in Congress, to get Working Families Tax Cut over the finish line, and was proud to do that. These changes are being felt on Main Street across the country already, but the positive impact will continue for years. I want to thank my colleagues for working with us to get it passed, and I'm looking forward not only to tell my constituents, but tell everyone in this United States just how important this is, because it's going to stimulate the economic engine of this United States to make it even better than it is today and for generations to come. With that, I yield back. And with that, I want to turn it over to Beth Van Dyne.
Well, thank you all very much for being here. I'm Beth Van Dyne, Congresswoman from the 24th District in the great state of Texas, an energy state, an energy producing state. And when this administration came in just a little over a year ago, we inherited a mess. We had seen a war against our energy producers in America. So if you were an energy buyer, if you had air conditioning, gas, heat, you were paying these prices. We saw a fight against all sorts of open borders. We saw a fight against anybody who was against crime in their communities. We saw some of the highest taxes, a party that just wanted to get more taxes from all American working folks. We saw increases in our debt and our deficit unlike we had ever seen before. That's what we inherited. And when we got to work, when the Trump administration got into power, when you saw the majority now in the Senate and in the House, we got to work. And as Chairman Smith just mentioned, we have been working on this bill for 3 years. And as a result, if you are a small business owner who had seen $1.8 trillion of regulatory war against you during the Biden administration, we tried to relieve that in our One Big Beautiful Bill. If you were a senior and you'd seen some of the highest inflation, and where you could not even afford to be able to pay for food on the table, you saw some of the highest deductions now for seniors so that they're not having to pay as much taxes. If you were a working family dealing with 9% inflation, what you saw was a greater standard deduction so that now if you're a family of four and you're making $73,000, your federal income tax will be zero. What we saw over time, all of these things are benefiting working Americans. If you are disgusted as a taxpayer seeing billions of your dollars being spent on folks who are here illegally or on fraud, waste, and abuse, this is something that we attacked and fought in this bill and that we will continue to do. We're not sitting back on our laurels. We recognize that there is still plenty for us to do, and we're working on that. But one thing is clear. If you're a small business owner, if you're a new parent, if you are a working member of a society, if you are an American citizen, there is one party that speaks for you. There's one party that fights for you to have more money in your pockets. There is one party that wants you to have more independence, more freedom, more ability to be able to succeed and live that American dream, and that is the Republican Party. I want to thank everybody on this stage for working so hard to make sure that those voices are being heard. And with that, thank you for being here. We look forward to your questions. And Chairwoman McClain.
A few questions. Yes, sir.
On the housing affordability front, what can be done to make housing more affordable, especially for first-time home buyers? For example, would you consider an HSA-like tax-deferred account for down payments and other sorts of solutions?
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's being done on the housing front right now, and that's part of the conference that we're doing today and tomorrow. Is we're having these roundtables when we're actually coming up with concrete ideas to actually solve the housing problem, right? It is supply and demand, but it's also regulation, and it's also interest rates that are coming down. But that's the very reason that we're here huddled together with all of my colleagues, is to put real common sense solutions on the table for first-time home buyers. Way in the back.
So first off, I've said since November of 2024 that we needed to pass one big, beautiful bill because I felt like that was the best way that we could leverage in order to deliver on the president's campaign promises, such as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, tax relief for seniors. And if you look at history, it is extremely rare for two partisan reconciliation bills to ever pass in the same Congress. Extremely rare. And so I would absolutely love a second reconciliation bill. I would love that. But I just don't think it will ever happen.
Pretty in purple.
Gas prices are one of the most immediate barometers of affordability.
Yep.
Next week, it could jump by $1. What's the strategy on messaging among Republicans right now?
Right. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have some strategic reserves right now? As let's remember, Biden reduce the strategic reserves by 40%, not but because we were in a war, but to win his campaign. So it would be nice if we had a little bit more in the strategic reserves, but here we are. Do I think that gas prices will rise a little bit? I do. But that'll be a snapshot in time. It's the difference between short-term and long-term. Long-term, doing what's best for the country, I think you'll see those prices fall, right? Let me remind everybody that under President Biden, gas was at $5 a gallon. We don't want to get back there. You know, last week or 2 weeks ago, I think it was hovering around $2.50, $2.60. You will see a little bit of an uptick, but I think eventually it will come down even lower than before. So with that, thank you for your time and enjoy the sunshine.